Hello everyone. Now we are talking about the topic called as classes and objects. In your first year PUC, you learned about the concepts of object-oriented programming, that is OOP. So OOP is a language which gives you a secured programs. That means whatever you are going to write, some programs in a language called as C++ or Java or C#, Python, etc. Those programs are secured enough to use in our real life also. So we are going for the learn about the topics of OOP. As per OOP, you already know the concept of OOP, that is classes, objects, inheritance, polymorphism, data abstraction, data encapsulation, etc. So these concepts of OOP in your first year PUC, you know only about the definitions and example. Now we are learning each and every concept of OOP in detail as a chapter wise. That is, your next chapter is classes and objects. Very next you will be having about the polymorphism, that is function overloading, and then you have in detail about inheritance and etc. So now if you are getting into in detail about classes and objects. As classes and objects, as definition, you know what is object. Object is nothing but real world entity, and what is class. Class is nothing but collection of objects having similar characteristics. For example, a object, if you take as an example of car, bike, etc., a class for that is automobiles. That is, for automobile class you will be having car and bike as a objects in the same manner. For example, class, if you take as a solar system, and for that class you will be having objects like sun, moon, stars, etc. So these are all the objects for the class solar system. For the class automobiles, you have a objects called as car, bike, etc. So these are the examples, and I am recalling your first year syllabus as per the definitions of objects and classes. Now we are getting into how class can be defined. How class can be defined. Class definition is different from defining a class. So what is class definition? Class definition is nothing but naming a class along with data members and member functions. Data members are nothing but the variables what we declare in a program. Member functions are nothing but functions what you learnt in your first PUC. For example, you take a bank account as a example so that I can explain you easily. In a bank account, you divide into two parts. First, what are the data you have in your bank account, and what are the methods or functions you do in your bank account. First, what are the data in your bank account? The data is nothing but account ID, that is account number. Then you will be having account holder name, and type of account. Maybe it is a current account, or you will be having a savings account, etc. And what are the methods you will be having? You have to withdraw the money from the bank, that you can make it as a function, that is what you apply on the data. Next, what you have deposit of a money, etc. So you also can use a bank transactions, etc. So in a bank account you will be having some data, and also you have some functions, or they are also called as methods. Here we are calling them as data members. So these two combinedly called a class definition. Naming a class along with data members and member functions is called as class definition. So how I am writing all these together? By using C++ syntax, that is by using object oriented programming is known as syntax of a class. So how you can declare a class? So that is, I am explaining you about syntax of a class. So what is syntax? Class is a keyword you use, then you will be having class name, that is a user defined name, whatever you want you can give. So next you will be having a two curly braces which are followed by semicolon. Inside the curly braces you are going to write all the data members and member functions. I already explained you what is the data member. Data member is nothing but variables you are using to define a data inside the class. and member functions are the methods what you apply on the data. So for them to use them, we have some access specifiers. I'll explain what are access specifiers. First you just learn about the class definition. Class name, then you'll be having private. Under private you will be having data members and then member functions. So data members and member functions together bind to make a class. So then you will be having a public. Under public you will be having data members again and member functions, which is very easy because it is nothing but just a repetition. Each and every specifics access specifiers you are writing the same, data members and member functions. The same thing will be carried, that is member functions. Then also you have another access specifier, that is protected. Under protected also you will be writing data members and member functions. Data members and member functions. After this you are going to end the class definition by using a curly brace and then semicolon, and specifying semicolon is very important because this is you are learning for the first time. So class, and class is a keyword, then you are writing a class name, user defined name, whatever you want you can write. Suppose I take example here itself, means we take class name as account. For the bank, if I take account as a class name, account, then I am writing private data members. Always we specify some data wherever it has to stand. That is example we will write again in specific. First you learn about class definition. Class you have as a keyword, then you have a class name, that is user defined name. It is different for different programs. Class name is given by yourself. You can give, a programmer can write any class name of their choice. Then we have access specifiers, that is private, public and protected, under which you are going to write data members and member functions. This is a syntax for class definition. Now we enter into the example of class definition, which is actually, after learning the syntax, the example will be very easy. The example, as I explained before, I take a bank account. So as it is bank account, I take the class name as account. So under private, I declare the data members which are required. That is the data what I took. I took the data called as account number. Then I also take which type of account I am using, that is current account, savings account, etc. Care type I took. So this is actually a 2 I give, so that you can write savings account, current account, etc. Then you also can take account holder's name, that is also a string. So you can take some 20 characters. So if the name is something longer, you can use. And then I am also going to take one more data, that is amount. So float, I use float to define the amount of a person who is going to keep in some particular account. Then I will be using a public access specifier to define the functions. So what are the functions, what are the transactions you do in a bank? That is maybe depositing the amount. So you write deposit is a member function, and also you can withdraw the amount from the bank. So I use withdraw. And one more access specifier we have now. So protected, that also I use. Under protected we use void transaction. Some transactions you can write whatever you want. So this is the example for the class account. So account is a class where you are going to define some data members and member functions. So now you have a doubt, what is private, public and protected? Private, public, protected, these are all the called as access specifiers. Access specifiers are the one which defines the scope of a data inside the class. That means how much they are feasible. For example, I am a computer science teacher. I can teach you only computer science. That is my scope. That is my limitation. So under private, if some data, that is, I can take only the students, I can teach only to the students who know computer science, who take as a option as computer science. I can't go for stats class, right? But some teachers, like English teacher, they also can go for a statistics class, and also they can go for a computer science class, and also they can go for biology class. So that is the scope of particular subject. The scope of a private, public, protected also can be defined same. A private data can be accessed only by somebody. A public data can be accessed only by somebody. Protected data also the same. So here gives the security of a program. So the access specifiers makes OOP language more specific. That means it makes a program secured. So what is private, what is public, what is protected? These are all nothing but access specifiers. And I'll repeat, access specifiers are nothing but the specifiers inside the class which makes the data to be more specific. That means who can be accessed, who cannot be accessed, that can be limited by using the access specifiers. So what is access specifier? These are the one which gives the scope of a data, which defines the scope of a data inside the class. Now let us move into the topic called as access specifiers, so that you can quote the same example here. Whatever I already wrote, the same example is feasible for even the access specifiers. So which are very very important, 5 mark questions, these are all actually. Now we talk about access specifiers. So access specifiers are already I explained, which gives the scope of a data. Scope of a data means what all the data you defined under private, who can be accessed. What is the data you defined under public, who can be accessed, etc. So the scope of a data can be defined by using access specifiers. Now the access specifiers are 3. One is private, another one is public, another one is protected. So what is private? Private data can be accessed only by the member functions inside the class. So only, for example, in the previous example what we took, a public, under public we have 2 member functions, that is deposit and withdraw. Only those 2 functions can be capable of accessing the data which is in private. The protected member function, or maybe some other account member cannot able to access your amount. For example, when you take bank account as example, you have one account, that is your account is current account or savings account, whatever it may be. Another person also have another account. When he is capable of accessing your amount from your bank account, so what is the security? So which is where we lost, and hence we always define the some data which is very very secure under private. So only public members can access the private data. The same example is suitable for the access specifiers also, what you already learned for the class definition. The same example I am writing again, class, and then you will be having account. Under account I am giving, that is private. So private data cannot be accessed outside the functions. So private, under private you have what all? You have int, account number, and you have some char type, that is which type of account you have, that is current account or saving account, and float amount. Now I repeat, now if you have under public, you are going to write void withdraw, void deposit. So now I tell you, the deposit and withdraw are the 2 member functions which are capable enough to access these data, because they are in a same class. But the private data cannot be accessed by any other function which is outside the class. For example, void some change name. So this is one class I defined outside the account class. Account is a one class, And outside the account, I define one function, normal function. This function is not capable of accessing this data. Only these two member functions can access this data. So, account is a class where you are going to access all these data. And hence I am telling you this is a secure data because private data cannot be accessed outside the class members. Public data can be accessed by outside members also. Anyone, if they know your bank account number, they can deposit amount into your account. But they can't change the name of your account, name of a person inside the account, because these are all secured data. So I am telling you access specifiers are three. One is private, another one is public, another one is protected. So private data members are very specific. If you are not writing anything here means that they are also called as private, because private is a default access specifier. This is a 1 mark question and also Viva question. So which is a default access specifier? So private is a default access specifier. That means if you are not written anything over here, by default the class assumes these are the private data members, and hence if you mention it, if you not mention it, private members are in char and float because we didn't mention anything. If you mention, then it's well and good. If you didn't mention also, it become private only. Under public we have data members, member functions. You also can write the data members, no issues, but as an example I am trying to explain you people that how the data must be secured under private and how the data must be under public. Then how you are going to write about other member functions outside the class. So today we only learned about classes and objects, that is class definition along with class declaration, syntax and example, and access specifiers, only example. So related to this I also uploading some question and answers and also PowerPoint presentation in a link given. So please go through it. Thank you.